got the boys with the toys and the big making noise. Hello and welcome to Andy's Little Sci-Fi Horror Show. My name's Andy. This is my little 10-minute window to the rest of the world. Right now I'm in the theater, and it's about half an hour from now I'm going to be seeing a long-awaited Bumblebee. I have to admit, I am kind of one of them dorky fans. I've been waiting for a long time to see this movie. This looks like they did the Transformers movies right. I didn't mean to leave you hanging, but I just wanted to get these spots. Here it comes. Boom, it's on, I'm out.
Let me tell you something. A driver don't pick the car. Car pick the driver. It's a mystical bond between man and machine. It's a mystical bond between man and machine.
Who are you? Do you speak? I won't hurt you. What's your name? You got people out there who need you. This is why you're here, Bee.
You know, beat music can help you say what you're feeling. Try this.
Hello and welcome to Andy's Little Sci-Fi Horror Show. My name's Andy. This is my little 10-minute window to the rest of the world. And as you've seen in the previous clip I just showed you, brother and I have just seen the Bumblebee movie. And it was excellent. It's exactly what I was hoping it would be. A little bit of a contrast from the other Transformers movies, which got crazy and over the top with the crazy violence and huge spectacle. They brought it back to a more contemporary origin story. Yeah, it was, but still a classic story about a character who was done okay, but could have been always done better. I'll get back to that in a minute. Before I can get into that, though, I have to give you a brief, uninteresting history about Transformers. This is part of the line of the original Transformers. It's an original Soundwave. The Walkman. It had a little guy inside here. You pushed a button, the bird came out, and it was pretty cool. In the original Megatron, a pistol. I know many of you were used to seeing him as a big flying machine, which was kind of cool. One of the things they changed in the movie. We'll get back to that too. And of course, Shockwave.
You cannot get out! I can now!
Decepticons are the bad guys. We all know that. There's the Autobots and Decepticons. Good guys and bad guys. The Decepticons, for the most part, were either weapons or flying vehicles. They had some flying vehicles, but they were often like more of the aggressive vehicles, like the police officers.
Oh, great. Cops.
like every other toy line that starts out small, it gets big, and goes on, they change. Transformers came out in 1984. Now, there was another toy line called GoBots, and contrary to popular belief of our generation, GoBots actually came out first. They had a limited line of mid-size figures, about this size. They were very simple, folded over, like 3 folds, and then they turned in from car to robot. And when you're a little kid growing up, having a robot that changes into a car, and a car that changes back into a robot, that's the best of both worlds. I mean, there's no wonder why these things took off and they were awesome. Decided when Transformers came out, they had generic names at the time. They wasn't Optimus Prime, it wasn't Bumblebee, there was like Robot Truck, Robot Bug. But they gave them characters, they gave them names, and they gave them the cartoon, which filled in the storyline for generations to come, like myself. This is what our generation thinks of when they think of GoBots. They think of the micro ones. And that's the reason why, because these ones came out after the success of Transformers. The GoBot company was desperate to try to keep up with this, but what they did is they decided to latch onto the appeal of the Matchbox. So they made Matchbox style cars. And just like their larger ones, 1, 2 pulls, pull this over, pull the arms out, boom, you got a robot. They also marketed to reality here too. The Space Shuttle, at the time, mid-80s, Space Shuttle was popular. You got your Matchbox size robots, which was very cool, until Transformers started doing it too. And of course, they did it better. Simple design, these guys fold in, these fold over, boom. Now if you notice, these don't look quite as much like a Matchbox. And that was on purpose to keep them from getting confused with the GoBots, because at the time, back between 1984 into I believe 89, they were competitors until Hasbro bought some rights to many other toy companies, and in doing so they actually ended up owning the character and property rights to GoBots. But instead of crushing them and leaving them out of existence, they kept the line going for as best as they could. But still, by this point, GoBots was not as interesting as Transformers. Transformers was taken off. They already had multiple generations, and there was just no competing with them. And I say multiple generations here. This is the original Soundwave transformed into a Walkman. Soundwave changed. I mean, this one, instead of being a cassette where the cool thing flies out, it was more of a set playing CD player kind of thing. But the worst thing about this change was it was no longer flying out of the chassis like this guy. It was a separate rock and roll guitar thing like this, with a GoBot kind of style, 2 flips and a push, you get the bird. The guitar, you pull this and it goes together. And then Soundwave can rock it out. Like any good toy line that survives a long period of time, they had to change. They couldn't just be robots that were turned into vehicles, but they went on to change into dinosaurs. We had dinosaurs into robots. Talk about opening up a whole new dimension to a kid's fantasy. Now you got robot dinosaurs that change into humanoid robots, which is a little bit of not much of a stretch into excitement, but still it's really freaking cool. And they had insects, the insect line. These were the bad guys. I'm not going to transform these now. Basically, these are the guys that are in robot form, and then they turn into like this goes like that, and then I guess I just did it. Now it's a cockroach. It was still cool. Who cares? It was Transformers. And they had the larger line. This one actually it looks like a bug this way, but it transforms into a motorcycle. Like most good franchises, again, after you've had a long animated series, you need to make the movie. Now, there was a movie in 1986 that they had Transformers that transformed themselves. This is one of those pullback things. You let it go. He transforms himself into a robot. Boom! And of course, merchandising came in all forms. McDonald's actually had their versions of Happy Meals. These were pretty cool. And they don't do anything, they're just more like figurines that kind of just stand there, but you can still play with them. They weren't as cool as the actual toys in the movie, such as this. I do gotta give it props to McDonald's, because in the midst of all this transforming chaos between the GoBots and the Transformers, they came up with their own line of transforming food. This is the ice cream cone. Little arms pop up. And he's a badass robot.